All right, thank you all. We will not be undone by the technical difficulties. So as you walked in today, you actually got a handout, and if you didn't, you can follow along. So if you pull out your devices and go to canva.link/Atara, you can follow along. If you need the password for the Wi-Fi, we can get you that too, but you should be able to get access. So raise of hands, you guys have that? Okay. So, all right, feel free to take a moment. You don't have to look at me. Feel free to look at your devices and look it out. So how we have on stage is Steve and my wife, Kathy. This is Mike. I'm Mike, and Greg as well. Nakamura was on our trip along with his son, and we represent the board of Atara. And so about a year and a half ago, you might remember, if you weren't here, Jodo Bazimana was here. He was our managing director from Atara. And he came out, and we launched a campaign called Make Room for More. And it was more about a vision of what the Lord was going to do next in Atara, just a way to make an impact, not only in Rwanda, but just throughout the world. And then we learned pretty quickly that it was not just in Rwanda, but even here in the States, where the Lord had amazing things planned. So before we jumped into Atara in Rwanda, I wanted to just highlight a few things that were happening in the U.S. So since 2026, if you got your devices, you can follow along. But we had some amazing activities. Maybe those of you who have been in Atara either have volunteered, played in the pickleball tournament, purchased a product, came to a volunteer event. Maybe raise of hands for those of you who have been supportive. Okay, thank you all. Thank you. So we just had an amazing opportunity over the last few months just to see what the Lord had in store. So for the first time ever, we actually went outside of the church to do a pop-up shop. They were very, very successful. And that just proved that the Lord had amazing plans, not only for just the message of sharing what the Lord was doing in Atara. And once again, for those of you who may not be aware, it's really to help in Rwanda many genocide survivors who didn't have a way of income, learning a trade of sewing and being able to therefore be able to create sustainable incomes through selling of their products. So that's where Atara started 10 years ago. And so we had a pickleball extravaganza where we raised over $10,000 for Making Room for More. We were invited by Shepherd to sell products. We had an amazing volunteer team. And then if you haven't checked it out recently, we just rebranded our website. I know Amy's here. Kwan's actually back in China taking care of his father, but it's a brand new website. So if you haven't looked at it lately, I'd highly recommend taking a look. The next slide would show some of the materials that our team, even here in the US, used as a preparation for our trip. And these books are foreign to familiar. When Helping Hurts, Created to Dream. We studied the book of Nehemiah when we were actually in Rwanda. I would highly, highly recommend those, especially for those of you who might be preparing to go into under-resourced communities, just how best the Lord would provide. We have listed, and you can actually take this home and look at the slides later. My wife looked at it every day this week to double check it. But we have quotes from each of the team members, and if I were to summarize at a high level, it really embodied the relationships that we were able to continue with those that were in Rwanda, specifically the artisans, but even the relationships we have within our team itself. We moved forward in faith. Oftentimes we did not actually know the direct plans that the Lord had for us each and every day. And then just through 10 years of just praise. And then as you recall in Nehemiah, it was a lot about confidence that the Lord was actually going to go in forward before building the wall. And that's what we felt each and every day, was the confidence of the Lord. As we were over there, Joshua 4, when if you remember that the Israelites crossed the Jordan River, there was a time where they laid down memorial stones. And so we actually did that as a team before we left in the U.S. And then actually we went to Rwanda. We actually asked for the artisans to partake in that same exercise. And there was a beautiful garden out in front of the workshop, and each of them picked up a stone. And you can see some of them praying over those stones. We actually had each artisan describe a word that really meant what Atara meant to them over the last 10 years and how the Lord has provided. And so there's a great picture of us holding up our stones and celebrating that. When we were in Rwanda, we spend a lot of time building upon existing relationships. We would not be one collective church if we didn't spend a considerable amount of time with HHOA. So I don't think Tom and Lita are here today, but we had a chance to spend time with Dr. Jiang, who we saw firsthand just the amazing work that he's doing in Africa, as well as many of you contributing to the Hope Dental Center. It was truly amazing. In the middle, and this one I do highlight that you would hopefully look at your devices, is a year and a half ago we went to a home that was introduced to us through a relationship from Pastor Sharon through Cal State Fullerton. And in the background of this picture is a kind of rain falling down on homes in Rwanda that represent aluminum ceilings in a very simple home. And that was really touching my heart a year ago. We happened to actually meet the brother of the artisan who developed that in Rwanda, so that was a relationship we were able to start a year and a half ago. And then in Rwanda, there's a few large churches. One of them is called Africa New Life, and we've had a 4-year journey relationship with them. And so that's the next slide, where you've heard a lot about certain artisans. There's an artisan named Clarice that I wanted to highlight today. She joined the program in 2020. Once again, thanks to your good efforts around contributions and prayer and how we can continue to expand. And so in 2020, she joined at the age of 27 and had 3 very young children. Due to COVID and just difficulties, both from her spiritual kind of way of coming out of difficult times, as well as just having a young child and children to raise, she fell behind her peer group. And so when others were graduating, she still was with Atara, but it was difficult for her. And so in came Africa New Life. So we decided to partner. Once again, thank you to all of you who helped sponsor that year in 2023. We raised funds to help send 3 artisans to Africa New Life to go not only through their vocational training, but also through spiritual healing. And that was a whole year program, and she went back and forth for a whole year for 3 times a week. And so in 2024, she graduated and became an artisan and learned the products, and really became a whole new 180 perspective of who she could be in Christ. And so thanks to Luisa, who I know is there, we've had an amazing social media blitz out at Atara, and there's a picture of Clarice smiling. And that's really just the priceless experience that all of us, including all of you, can see, where the Lord will just bring someone from just despair through hope, just through the opportunity of learning a trade and then being able to create a sustainable income. So for that, we'd like to thank you. Continuing on with relationships we had while we were in Rwanda, once again, waking up not knowing exactly what the Lord was going to have, we did find an opportunity, really just God ordained, to ask a young artisan that was displaying products if we could partner with them in a way of, in a retail space, which is the highest tourist area. And not only did we establish a relationship with her, she came by, she spent much time with Kathy, we had dinner together, and so there's an actual location that we're in a agreement right now verbally to be able to sublease in that space. In the middle is a picture where a tour guide, one of the goals is to expand the network of individuals who can experience the Atara just way of what the Lord's done. And so we were able to connect with a tour guide who actually brought, since we've left, tourists to come and purchase the products. And then the last is an interesting story as well. So if you remember, I mentioned earlier a brother of the artist that made a beautiful painting. We actually had a chance to meet with that individual. We had dinner. He came over to the workshop, and he was very excited about using his artistry to be a collab with us. So we have a verbal agreement to be able to create something amazing through Christ, spreading forth his word. And if you recall, when I actually described a few weeks ago when we were up here before we went, the reason why we went actually was for Jodo. When Jodo was here a year and a half ago, his most exciting area that, besides sharing about Atara, was really he wanted to get married, and he didn't have any prospects at the time. And so we prayed for him, and thank you for many praying for him as well. And he came across and met with someone he knew from college named Sonia. And so after a few months of courtship, they actually got married. And so definitely take a look at that picture. That's a picture of Jodo and Sonia together. And it was an amazing celebration for all the artisans to get on 2 buses and come over and celebrate as well. So that was a victorious opportunity. And so last is really just an ask of all of you to continue to embark upon the journey that we're all in. We have what we call a Atara Tent Builder in this Make Room for More campaign, and it could be going to Rwanda, it could be just helping us in the U.S., it could be through prayer, it can be through financial support, and really we're just open to what the Lord has in store. Once again, kind of in the book of Nehemiah, trusting that the Lord's going to move forward, and just us being obedient in his calling. So thank you for bearing with us. Thank you, Kathy, and thank you for Steve for your amazing board work. And with that, I'd like to call up Pastor David.